It's July 12th, 2022. Um, I'm using this social studies guide, this painting of Hamilton I found with this epigenetic feature I have of the Hamilton nose, which I've never called that before, but now that I'm looking at the painting, I'm like, hmm. So, I've got like the Teddy Roosevelt ears. So, like, there is this long history of nativeness and whatever inside of America. This morning, I wrote like, the humans, they say around here, they're like, write a Dear John letter. Like, you're never gonna mail, just like, if anything. I'm like, right, yeah, but I'm from America, so I'm gonna write Dear Eric. Because his name's inside of the construct and the country and the nation that our ancestors built. So, in that construct, I wrote um, two Facebook messages this morning in Codex, um, and now I'm sitting here in this morning mess of communication board, watching as CBS this morning um, does a piece. Like, we'll go with what bothers me first. First Lady Jill Biden came out. She said something about bodegas and tacos and in the Latino diversity as these words. And then all of a sudden, Gail King's got her taco stand up in a bunch about stereotypes. And I'm like, there's a reason there's stereotypes in the stereo universe of planetary alignment and keeping artificial sacrifice by stray bullets and friendly fire from taking place. So if we have a conversation at what built the infrastructure here with lots of different methods and governance, and then something just arrived, and we got big work to do and need to have a conversation about it, just because some of the what is here functioning, and I don't know how, is upset about it, not my main concern. There's a lot of security in between the non-essential equipment that get upset about everything and what really rules the roost. At Rooster has a chicken, and currently it's been 43 years and she's still waiting. So now, let's see. So then I'm listening to the story of this illegal that's here. And he's like, I grew up all American. He's like, Bayside High, woo, like Saved by the Bell kind of a thing. He's like, they didn't talk about Zach getting deported, but this guy was illegally here. And I'm like, right, yeah. So, but then, like, and I mean, he's just all in, which I see that. But then they tell the story about he came from El Salvador. Last time I checked, not one of the countries where there were immigrants being accepted by great immigration standards. So here we are, and so now he's here. He's probably my age, maybe a little older than I am. He had these two illegal, undocumented parents that never told him. They, though, were doctors, like pediatric and anesthesiologist doctors in El Salvador, and left that life to become a dishwasher and some other, like, really whatever, but to do that inside totally. And I'm thinking to myself, um you realize that's how terrorists organize themselves. Like, they embed themselves in somebody else's country. Like, no, we're not harmful. No, you were very educated elsewhere. And then you take a lower, like, discreet job in a place you don't belong to then have children, anchor children and seeds in a garden that doesn't want you or is having trouble with other versions of you somewhere, and you're just gonna hide out and gang up in numbers? Is that what is that your game plan? I'm just curious at what's formulating itself under this umbrella, because there's an outlaw king somewhere functioning. And I need to get a message to Eric in the Foster family, the American Foster family. Foster's a beer, isn't it? Yeah, that's another red, white, and blue territory. I'm just checking on my notes of what's real and what's what. And I got this nose thing going on. Alexander Hamilton must be a family trait. I don't really know. It looks like it. So, here we are on free speech, right? The people at the table on this one show. Then it goes to real world, because now we're out of like the entertaining news for this morning where they think that they have free speech to comment and give their opinion and judgment on things that were not meant to save them. And yet here we are, somebody's listening to them. And then it goes into the real news at noon, the local area for New York. And it's like, if we were under radiological attack, and how would you know? Like, how would they inform us? And then the newscasters are like, no, because it's not happening. But just if it was, the people that are in charge want us to know that they like sign up for New York notified. Right. Okay. So the wrong Eric is in New York City claiming to be a mayor. So that's a problem, because he's not Alexander Hamilton. He's not Thomas Jefferson. He's certainly not Eric from America. Not the America that my ancestors built. So, there's weight in these words, in a WEIGHT for when it rains, REIGNS. So here we are in, let's go with, at the moment, this, it looks innocent. It really does. It looks like some really good guy calls himself a Latino with two undocumented parents who are highly educated elsewhere in anesthesiologists, which means that they know poisons, chemicals, and how to discreetly take out people should other governmental officials have enough money, since they're only at dishwasher level, which really frightens me as a mother with having children in the field. And with like this, I don't have access to a helicopter on a daily basis. I don't even have money to rent one at this point, in case Eric really cares about how I'm doing in low places.
Our next guest with a unique perspective on what it means to be an American, and he's written a book about it. His name is Rafael Augustine. He moved here from Ecuador to Southern California when he was 7.
Now, what was America working on and with in the Great Migration? I've gone through this before on history lessons that I went through so long ago that it was really hard to remember. So I thought, you know what? Eric's in somewhere between, if I'm 4, there's 5 years apart, or could be. And then there's Mike, he's like 10 years older, or could be. So I'm like, all right, between Mickey Sticker Club and Eric from America and the American Foster family of men that I respect and I find bearable and tolerable in their uniqueness and my love of that kind of man in, I know that they exist. They set the bar really high on their respect of my person when we were in um in just a historic day that just seems so ordinary. So now when I look in here, there is these migratory acceptable places by the Democratic Republican Party of the founders, as well as the Federalist Party. There were a big five at that time as a benchmark and as an agreed upon, let's call it peace treaty or American foster family, like rock of truth. Should anything come under attack, in order to protect ourselves as a family, our American foster family representatives, and then our own seedlings and gardening flowers or electronic darters or whatever. There has to be one level of acceptable unity there. So now I can already see here, and this trek was not in compliance with the rules in the National Guidebook and Workbook of Socially Accepted Studies, and the billers and treasury of what bills are they paying and who's keeping the lights on, and how are the family members of this American foster family faring during their time on this earth with ear things. So I'm just reporting from Westworld in real time. Today is July 12th, 2022. So now here's the passage of time of they transported this child here when he was 7, and now they are chemically aware, which my parents were not. I don't have chemical or biochemical engineers from elsewhere transplanted inside of management over here. I'm sure I do have foster family representatives that are, but those are the ones that I pray to and I revere as godly doctor types that look after and protect me in the field when there's outside forces moving in unbeknownst to me. And that's where that interdependent relationship works between the things that I don't know, I can't see, but I know exist, and where I was delivered.
What he did not know is that his family was carrying a secret. And it wasn't until he was in high school that Augustine learned the truth that he and his parents were undocumented. Eventually, he was able to get U.S. citizenship and went on to write.
Now, I'm standing in a place where I look and like the ancestry of the former presidents of this great nation and this great area, and the people that had foundations and trusts and built the roadways, the bridges, the society, the schools, the whatever, the buildings, that had seeds and food as well in agriculture, and it was a interdependency of one hand washes the other, and we look after one another as if we're one big foster family. In my life frame, I did not get to, on the big screen, I wasn't pushing for that either. But inside in the background of something that works within that field or within the music field or in the artist field or even the antique field or even anything field, I for some reason have been withheld from or blocked out of by whatever this other game is that they're doing in trying to tear down what natively or originally was in the area. So, but it looks like he's got a bow tie on. It looks like he got to some serious money and some serious places in the world. I don't know if these are contact networks, if they're building up this whatever. I mean, again, with aviation being what it is and the people movement being at such frightening levels.
Right? For the hit show Jane the Virgin, and in his memoir, Illegally Yours, you didn't really sign emails that way.
And now this is his memoir, which I have not read. I can't read right now. My eyes in this level of radiological light, I can't, my eyes don't work. Especially having to stare at all this visual art references the Illumination Committee is doing.
That way, did you? Augustine documents his American journey, and Raphael joins us now.
I mean, they make a joke about it. But quite frankly, I don't know why they would be using red, white, and blue here. Why not just be honest and use the colors of the people that you are from, since it's easier to track down for management? I mean, if everything's on the up and up.
Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It would be your sense of humor and completely hilarious to sign emails that way.
I don't think I did it.
The book opens with I think an anecdote that illustrates the absurdity, I think, of the sort of lines in the sand and rules about who can cross and who can't. But I actually want to start with the moment you found out your family's secret. You were trying to get a driver's license.
I was.
Pick it up.
So, I mean, essentially the big secret is I grew up undocumented and I didn't know it. And like my mom tried to shelter me from this harsh reality. So I grew up watching Friends and you know, watching Saved by the Bell like everyone else. And I discover I'm undocumented. I now know how to react to it because there's no episode of Saved by the Bell where Zach gets deported.
That doesn't resolve that one either.
So my all-American life came crashing down on me as I discovered the truth of our legality. My mom sheltered me from that, and I thank her for it because it allowed me to grow up a oblivious all-American kid.
Go ahead.
Well, as I say, why did you then eventually decide to get to the point where, you know what, I'm gonna write it down?
Well, honestly, I wanted to tell my parents' journey to this country. I mean, we don't get to hear these stories in our media, in our film, in our TV, in our books.
Because your parents are doctors, both of them.
My dad is a pediatric surgeon who came to this country to work on a car wash.
Pediatric surgeon. Knows surgery, knows organ and tissues, knows how to remove them, knows how the anatomy and physiology works, knows how anesthesiology interacts with and has contacts within, but yet comes to America to work in a car wash? Hello? Security.
My mother is an anesthesiologist who came to work at a Kmart, and they struggled.
She's a chemically aware. So for me, being that she's illegal here and she's not documented, it means for me that she's some kind of poison artist, some kind of chemical engineer that can pick up side jobs to make it look like an accident. I mean, that's problematic. I don't know why such entry would ever be allowed or to stay, honestly.
Struggled, really.
I mean, we're not talking about farmers escaping really horrific conditions. We're talking about highly educated people infiltrating someone else's government, somebody else's land, and hiding, but also has the ability to be contracted in some really dangerous situations to hurt the real governance and the children of the ancestors and the ancients that are native here.
Hard. I mean, they thought they were going to come here to become doctors again, right? It was their American dream. But then they had the harsh reality that the American dream was not going to be for them, but for their children. And it's a harsh reality that a lot of immigrants in the United States have to come to face with.
I know, but I think.
Now, why would it be for their children? I'm just curious because Lewis immigrated here. So if the American dream was not going to be for his, under this false narrative, if it wasn't for him and he didn't hit success like Robert Redford, then why is it that I've had such a horrible existence here in New York? I'm just curious. I didn't have to stay. I didn't say I was going to stay, but I needed Thomas Jefferson, someone from Hamilton, like the real Hamilton, not the farce that they put on Broadway, like the remake and the remix, in this like very highly toxic and televised like smile and wave as they just move in and totally oppress and surround everyone until there's like nothing left.
I think of you as this little boy, Raphael. You're watching Disney cartoons, DC Comics. You wore your Batman costume all around town all the time.
Everywhere.
At 9 years old, there's a little girl, Erin, is your first girlfriend. Tony, there's that funny part in the book where she leans in and you think, is she trying to smell my shirt? No, she's trying to give you a kiss. It was funny the way you wrote it. But I mean,
But also at that age, I'm like, what does it mean to be someone's boyfriend? I mean, I have to have extra chores. I didn't know. It's a little scary.
But you're watching Saved by the Bell and you think, I want to be Zach.
Yes.
And then later on you see Ricky Martin and you go, aha, I want to be that guy. Talk about the difference between the two for you.
So as a first generation American, I didn't have a how-to guide, right? I didn't know how to be American. So I would watch and was like, okay, Saved by the Bell. I want to stop living in this ghetto Hispanic barrio, and I want West Covina High School, where I grew up, to be like Bayside High.
Yeah.
Bayside High. So then everything Zach did and every episode, I tried it on for size. I mean, he's gonna run for class.
Did he say Bayside High? I think he said Bayside High. Right, okay, so Bayside Station here in New York. Looking for my Eric in America.
For class president, I'm gonna run for class president. He's gonna join a band, I'm gonna join a band.
Yeah.
But then the late 90s come around and the Latin explosion hit. Ricky Martin takes the stage at the Grammys, and it truly changed my life because he redefined sexuality and what it was to be a Latin man.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that sexiness didn't trickle down to me. Like, I kept walking into like parties with my tight shirts, like, hey, how's it going? No one cared.
I think a lot of people watching disagree with you right now. And that not particularly loose shirt you're wearing at the moment.
I mean.
But you apply for the test, and then the questions that you're asked. I knew all the questions except for one.
For the citizenship test?
Yes.
So I go take the citizenship finally, and they ask me all the questions.
Who's issuing the citizenship test?
Question like the 13 colonies, the branches of government, and I'm like answering them as quickly as I can. And then it turns out that the guy asking me the questions, the federal worker, starts trying to stomp me. He starts asking me harder questions and harder questions. He brings out another set of questions, and I'm like, what's happening?
Less than 30 seconds. What was the question? He said,
who was George Washington's right-hand man? And that really did stomp me. I see the painting. I was like, who's George Washington's right-hand man? I finally say, I'm sorry, I don't know. And he said, oh my God, I don't know either. But if you knew that, that would have been me.
Yeah.
That's great. Raphael, you say these stories are not being told, but you are now in a position actually to tell these stories, and you've told it very well. Thank you very much for being here. The book is Illegally Yours. It is out right now wherever you buy your books.
Yeah.
And you can hear more from Raphael Augustine, our guest today on Today.
So now I go from that this morning. Oh, wait, you know what? Let me go back to just how upset the Latinos are this morning, or at least according to Gayle King, with Jill Biden, or Dr. Jill Biden, or First Lady Jill Biden. Again, I don't know what she prefers. In their after commentary. I mean, stereo between the heliosphere, stereo, and ACE in a spatial manner of orbital and health ministry and public health and high levels of security. Stereotypes are given for very crucial communication projects. They're in the way of broadcasting. They're blocking access to free communication between myself and others. So now there's this conduit that doesn't like what it hears, but doesn't know what it really means. Now, here's the comment directly from First Lady Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, and then it will go to the table conversation, which this person at the table, who's this broadcaster or journalist or voice of some sort, who goes by the name King, which to me means she's an outlaw, because she's an outlaw king. She is not of king's ancestry for this local territory. She's not in the book of kings. She's not in the socially and widely accepted social construct of the area. She's an outlaw, but she's out of law, and she's putting herself somewhere in this construct as if she is of law. Now, I think there was a different interpretation of outlaw king between William Wallace and the Bruce of Scottish Reich, right? Reign Reich? I'm not sure the vernacular, so I apologize if I misspeak on that. Again, scholars very hard to come by in this area. I did see a portion of some visual reference that they put out on Netflix. I couldn't watch the whole thing because it was very without a scholar next to me to really build me the construct of what it means and who it equates out to. I'm so lost in that conversation. I just know it had 4 numbers and it was 1300, and that was the most important piece of that film allowance that they brought to my awareness, in as much as I could try by myself to latch on to some of the word references and what it would mean to somebody much more significant than myself elsewhere, and how to speak of it as best I could respectfully without really knowing, and living and breathing it and being immersed in or submerged in that culture. I've been withheld from it. I would have loved to have. Would have been a dream. It would have been an honor, but it's just not where I've been held.
Are looking for new leadership.
Christina, let me switch gears here. First Lady Jill Biden is taking some heat after people took offense at comments she made at a Latino rights event in Texas yesterday. Let's listen to what she said.
With the understanding that the diversity of this community, as distinct as the Bogotas of the Bronx, as beautiful as the blossoms of Miami, and as unique as the breakfast tacos here in San Antonio.
Now, for me, it says uno, dos, whatever. My reply to that is dos vadonia. Bonsoir, bonne nuit. Je ne sais pas, non so?
All right. Obviously, equating tacos with the Latino community is the issue that many find incredibly.
They find incredibly offensive, except what does taco actually acronym out for with a T? Is that transatlantic Aryan crisis with the oligarchs at the moment? Is that how we discuss it? And who's involved? So it's a taco. Someone's making a taco stand out of it. I don't know. Again, it's so crucial that these stereotypes or these brands, because they asked for that brand to represent something to keep in like branding, advertising, marketing, and lawsuits, some kind of funnel of highly organized criminals funding themselves in some legal way. But then it becomes an extortion technique, prisoner of war technique, like from the inside. And it's just getting worse because nobody's doing anything about it in the way that it needs to be handled. Like, where are these rock solid pieces of evidence? They're taught in the schools. There's photos purposely of the European descent with family features on the paintings. So those of us that still carry the genetics, I mean, I'm Rh negative. Here's the other thing. On a conversation about ABO, which is the blood types that they're using in the medical community here. On an ABO conversation, I'm something called Rh negative. There's something called Rh positive. 90% of the world is Rh positive. I'm the opposite. I'm Rh negative, which means that an organ transplant from 90% of the human population would kill me right off the bat. So I am not a threat at any of the most intimate, like integral levels to 90% of the population. I belong to the 10%, and I belong to the endangered portion of that have very specific needs and have a completely different purpose. But somehow within the 90 and the 100% of the population, that very intimate, intricate detail that you can't really tell upon first contact, it's the most crucial.
Offensive, Christina. What is the White House saying about this?
Yeah, no comment yet from the White House this morning, and those comments come a day before Mexican President López Obrador is here today to meet with Mr. Biden, so the timing is especially uneasy. Look, those remarks from the First Lady came as part of a prepared speech praising the work of a well-known activist. The National Association of Hispanic Journalists condemned the comments, saying in part that Latinos should not be reduced to a stereotype. Vlad?
That is exactly right. Christina, thank you very much.
We all agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
First Lady's team probably huddling today.
Says the Outlaw King representative from I don't know where.
You think?
That up, because when you know Joe Biden, that's not who she is, but it didn't come out correctly. In Tokyo this morning,
Again, an opinion of somebody, not federal, not Democratic Republican, not the U.S. Treasury level of built infrastructure, self-made economy with green linen, ancestors, gardening, seasoning, importance here. But now this arrives and is now given a microphone and a seat that I don't even have at the moment, or never had, quite frankly. For what purpose? To make things better or make things worse? Because there are very hot-headed people just outside the area that this territory is trying to keep safe. And comments like that going against the leader of the free nation inside of this gardening area looks pretty risky. Looks like that's how outside people get hurt by accident.
Thousands of people lined the streets to say farewell to Japan's longest-serving prime minister, that's Shinzo Abe. The retired leader was assassinated on Friday while making a campaign speech for another candidate. The killing with a homemade gun shocked Japan because firearms are highly controlled and gun violence there is really very rare. Elizabeth Palmer reports from Tokyo on Abe's funeral.
Now, today I have a radiological message on the regular news, which is very frightening because I want you to see it the way they're handling it. Because the people bringing forth the message are completely clueless, or so it would seem, about what radiological attacks actually are in journalists, because there are smarter versions other than themselves that already know and are versed in this and studied this while they studied broadcast and journalism. And it's really frightening between the biological warfare attacks of all of these pharmaceutical shots in the arm of genetic material that nobody can give me straight where they came from, what petri dish. Again, 90% of you could kill me by mixing my blood with yours. Why on earth would I ever want to share a medical facility or take any of your medical advancements that you did for yourselves? Now, they're calling it a public service announcement.
From crime to COVID, New Yorkers have had a lot to worry about lately. Now, even though this is absolutely not a threat, there is a new public service announcement on what to do in the case of a nuclear attack.
So there's been a nuclear attack. Don't ask me how or why, just know that the big one has hit, okay? So what do we do?
The city's Department of Emergency Management launched this PSA on what to do if there is a crime against humanity. That, again, this is not a viable threat, but the PSA did want to feature 3 steps that people could follow, like getting inside, removing all outer clothing, and monitoring updates from the government and media.
So now it says, stay tuned. So it says follow media. Which one? Sign up for Notify NYC. No idea what that is. But that has this outlaw Eric inside as working as a mayor of New York City, even though he's not Eric from America. So now I'm supposed to rely on that information. And then it says officials will send wireless emergency alerts, WEA. I've never even heard of that. But again, this radiological thing, there's a whole lot of music artists and television artists. And I've already featured what was on that commercial about haberdashery and like that whole crew. And I'm like, right, so their radio frequency and the fact that they've expanded their bands to house all of these radio possibilities, is that what part of this increased radiological effect is? I'm just curious. At stereo and at typing.
Again, they said the likelihood of an attack is very low, and we absolutely cause any
No,
fear.
and we got enough stuff going on.
Right.
So we're just going to move ahead with Eyewitness News at noon today and staying ahead of inflation. How one company...
Because I'm pretty sure at one level, there's this word that the humans in this capitalistic society have used. Not that I've enjoyed any of its fringe benefits, but They say revenue. And I'm like, right. So that's the R-E, and then it spells venue. Well, how are we defining the R-E? Just curious. When all of their opportunity is accidentally, radiologically poisoning the people that are not so blessed within that system. Again, like this is like where real crucial burial plots being the land of New York, and then that plat map being that geospatial area, that heliosphere, the planet, the orbits, the solar system, the really other important feature uses, and then the interaction of what's being held in what area and what is it being exposed to. So now, how do I get to Eric from America that can help me in my 10% blood type population that can't interact with doctors from the 90%? How do I get to my level of doctor and stay safe when I have real concerns about how my health is being affected? It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.